assuming you have an answer to that question. Why? Why do we need to do this? Well, we have a commitment to increasing the participation, the retention, and the graduation of students who are interested in STEM fields. We need you. Not only do we have a diverse population of students, educational backgrounds that attend Tarrant County College, but what we really need is a diverse population of professionals in STEM. So we need that diversity. So there's no better place to make that happen than at Tarrant County College. Tarrant County College is key to that commitment for diversity in STEM. And so why is that? Well, Tarrant County College is a 2-year public institution in Texas, in this area of Texas, in Tarrant County College, or Tarrant County. Tarrant County is the 3rd largest county in Texas. It also serves Fort Worth. Fort Worth is the 13th in terms of population, the 13th largest city in the United States. And so when you think about improvements to STEM at Tarrant County College, even modest improvements can have a significant impact, not just for this North Texas region, but for the nation. And so Tarrant County College is a key institution to recruiting, retaining, and graduating STEM professionals. That is the why behind this STEM So What. We need to showcase what STEM does, not just for STEM students, but for everyone. So here's some information that you may be interested in. We have a lot of opportunities for STEM research. One is, I want to mention, is the Jim Bolin Math Competition. It is scheduled to come up in a couple of weeks, November 4th, which is a Friday. It starts at 2 p.m. in the WACB 1123. And it's an opportunity to participate in this competition. It recognizes and awards students' achievement on this, what is the ADMATIC math test. It's a national level test. Tarrant County College calls it the Jim Bolin test because we award special recognitions, prizes, monies, and scholarships to Tarrant County College students who do well on that competition. In addition, there are four-year colleges that are interested in offering scholarships to students who do well in that. And so for $0, you sometimes, if you do well, have the opportunity to get partial or full scholarships to some of the transfer institutions that we do business with. Another opportunity is the Community College Internship Program. This is the Department of Energy has paid research internships, namely during the summer, for community college STEM students to participate in research at a Department of Energy national lab. Applications for this coming summer, this next summer, is due in January, on January 10th, 2023. And so if you're interested in paid internships with the Department of Energy, that would be of interest to you. The third thing I want to mention is a program titled Grow the Biotech Workforce in North Texas to Meet Emerging Skill Needs via a Collaborative Partnership. That is the full name of this program. What does it do? Well, it's an almost $9 million grant that has been awarded to Dallas College is the lead college, the lead institution, and what it does in biomedical, it expands the number of skilled workers in clinical labs, in bioinformatics, and biomanufacturing. And so in essence, let me just read what it says. Participants, along with dedicated case managers, will have tailored support needed to complete training programs, degrees, certificates, and obtain a quality job in the local biotechnology sector. So if you're interested in biotech, that is a program for you. So there are more opportunities, and I'm hoping that your faculty, if you're involved with some of our faculty, are sharing some of those opportunities. Let me, right now, I know you're eyeing that box of food over there and the water and everything, but let me just break for some housekeeping things. So if you're coming in and you didn't get a prize ticket, a ticket for a prize, we will be handing out some prizes here shortly. Just make sure you maybe kind of want to raise your hand and let us know so that you can get a ticket, because we're going to award some prizes. We don't have a huge janitorial staff, and so please do what you can to police the things that you get when you grab your dinner and water. Be kind. If you need to use the facilities, if you go out past the ramp and past the staircase, to the left and to the right are the facilities. And so with that, oh, and you should have noticed the attendance QR code, and if your scanner doesn't scan in, there's some QR codes, sheets on the tables. Make sure you use those to enter your attendance. We want to know who has attended and kind of keep track of that so that we can plan accordingly for next time. And we really want you to be informed, inspired, and feel that you belong here. Share the news about what you get here. Let's see. So, do we want to do prizes before we let folks grab? Yes, let's do prizes first. Okay, so some prizes, and then we can allow you to grab a box lunch and eat. So prizes. If you didn't get a ticket, do a few prizes, and then we'll move to it. Ticket for prizes.
I'll take a second.
No, a second. Who else needs a ticket? Here. We got two. Okay. How do we want to do this? Let's see. Volunteer. Let's see. Okay. This is for what?
We have this awesome drawstring backpack inside. We've got notebook so that you can take notes in today's presentation. And something that I don't normally see that I think is, this one's different. It's a bit of a surprise. This, I brought a TCC box. Some of them have socks in them. Okay. The first winner, we have number 1022976. 1022976.
Anyone win? Okay.
1022937. 1022937.
All right.
Okay, 1022948. 48 are the last digits. The takers, 1022948. Okay, last digit 63. 1022963. Okay, last one for now. Last digits are 49. 1022949.
That's me.
All right.
Did a single person on the right side get one? That's not cool.
Okay, so, you know, your notes, do it in an orderly fashion. Oh, well, thank you.
But I can do it on y'all can take this. I'm about to
Well, we are going to go ahead and continue with the session this evening. Let me take this opportunity. It's a privilege and an honor to introduce our first department that's going to present STEM So What? And I'm just going to say it's going to be intriguing. I want to introduce Paul Kessler.
My name is Paul Kester. I teach computer programming in the Computer Science and Information Technology department. So if you're interested in software development, maybe after you hear this talk, you'll be more interested in that kind of development. Feel free to come by and talk to us. So you see something going on here at the front. We'll talk about that in just a moment. This talk is about the case of the missing $2 trillion. That's trillion with a T, right? It turns out from November 2021 to June 2022, the total value of cryptocurrency in the world dropped by $2 trillion. 2 trillion people, investors in cryptocurrency, people like me, lost $2 trillion between November 2021 and June 2022. This is a chart of Bitcoin, and so that's not all cryptocurrency, but that's worth about half of cryptocurrency. And you can see here we are in November, and here we are in June. You notice that today, we're not doing any better. So cryptocurrency lost $2 trillion. Just to put that in perspective, because we don't tend to, our brains can't deal with what exactly $2 trillion is very well. So the federal spending, the budget, how much money the federal government actually spent in 2021 was $6.8 trillion. So that, a third, almost a third of what the federal government spends was lost. The total economy of the U.S., the gross domestic product, is only $23 trillion. And so $2 trillion of that is a big amount to go missing, right? So this is a chart of the value of cryptocurrency. You can see up until about 2020, there wasn't worth a whole lot. It got way up here, and now we're back down to there. So what happened and why? In order to understand what happened, we have to understand something about cryptocurrency. To understand cryptocurrency, we need to understand what the blockchain is. You've probably heard people talk about the blockchain. We want to learn a little bit about that. To understand the blockchain, there's two key concepts that we need to learn about, and that is hashing and public key encryption. At this point, I want to let you know, as I'm going through this, and I say something that you're not clear on, just go ahead and ask a question. Raise your hand, I'll call on you, I'll repeat the question so we get it on the recording. And if I'm just not paying attention and see you have a question, just yell at me. Right? That's okay. This is for you to understand what's going on. I want you to ask questions. So, let's talk about hash codes. A hash function maps text, a string of text, to a specific number within a fixed range. So it's a function that written in a computer program that reads a line of text. We input text. This is going to be large. This could be several pages of text. And it computes a number out of that, a single number that represents that page. But it's a one-way translation. If I give you the string of text, you can give me the hash code. But if I give you the hash code, you don't have any way of calculating what the original text was. A hash code is a one-way translation. Bitcoin uses the most popular hash function, which is called SHA-256. That stands for Secure Hash Algorithm, 256 bits. So the number that we come up with is 256 digits. That means the number of different possibilities is 2 to the 256th power. Now, most of you probably aren't up on your binary numbers. That's my job. But to give you an approximation, that's 1 followed by 252 zeros. A 1 followed by 252 zeros is approximately 256 bits. That's a big number. There's a lot of different values in there. We take 32 bytes of memory to store the 256 bits of information. So any given set of text can be run through a hash function and we get a number in that range. Some number represented by 256. The S, the Secure Hash Algorithm, this was designed by the NSA, the National Security Agency. Not surprisingly, that's what they're in the business of doing, is codes and cryptography. Related to that, let me just go back here. One of the things we do with hash code is when you enter a password for a website that you're going to go to, that computer, the server that you send that to, doesn't store your password. What it does is store a hash code of your password. So the hash code is computed on your computer, the client computer, and we don't even send the password over the internet, assuming you're on a secure web page. And how do you tell that you're on a secure web page? It's HTTPS. If you're on that, then on the site where you enter it, before it sends it across the internet, it computes the hash code, and we store the password on the servers as a hash code. So what gets compared is the hash codes, and that way nobody is supposed to ever see your password outside of your computer. But somehow people are managing to steal passwords, aren't they? Somehow that is happening, right? If it's so secure and it's only seen on your computer, how is that happening? What?
Rainbow tables.
Rainbow tables? I'm not even sure what that is. You want to explain that a little bit?
It's
it's a table where you have your plain text password.
Right.
It's literally just the password itself with its corresponding hash value or hash values for different algorithms.
Okay, so these tables can be stored somewhere that people have access to. The main way that people get our passwords is we give them to them, right? The main way, and you've seen emails, phishing emails that take you to a website that says, oh, this is your bank account, it needs to have your username and your password immediately. And it takes you to a non-secure website where you type in your password, and that's how people steal passwords like that. That's one of the main ways that people do it. But it's a pretty good system that we have, that we don't send the actual passwords across the internet. We store the hash code, and you can't get back to the password from it. But you can use the same hash function on both sides and compare, yes, this came up to the right hash code. The probability is extremely high that they typed in the same password. They typed in the same password. A similar concept is used in a system called public key encryption. And if you want to send private messages, or you ever type your credit card number into a website, you really need to understand what's going on with that. Right? Have any of you ever typed a credit card number into a web page, right? We've all done that, right? That's how we do things today. We have to do that. But it's not safe to send private information across the internet. Right? It turns out it's fairly easy for somebody to intercept data that's transferred across the internet. So how is that dealt with? Public key encryption is a system where you take your message, you have one key, which is a long set of numbers, one key that is used to encrypt that message, and a different key that's used to decrypt it. So you don't use the same list of numbers to encrypt the message as you do to decrypt it. Now this is based on a whole lot of math, and I have a very nice 9-page paper that explains all of it, and you math majors might want to get that paper. It's listed on your handout right there under Mathematics of RSA Public Key Encryption. You can read that paper. It's only 9 pages. It's not real easy, but it's 9 pages. There's a lot of math in it. It basically comes down to using algorithms that we study in math and in computer science. There are some problems that are just too hard to solve with the available computing resources on the planet. We call those NP-complete problems, non-polynomial problems. We cannot come up with a solution to that mathematical problem in polynomial time. It's exponential. And as the numbers get bigger, the time it takes to solve the problem gets even bigger than that. Using difficult problems to solve, this is based on the problem of factoring large numbers. You take large numbers, take 2 large prime numbers, multiply them together, and it becomes very difficult to factor that, to figure out what were the numbers that went into multiplying it. It's actually a little more complicated than that, but I'll let you read the paper about that. If Alice, or Bob wants to send a message to Alice, Bob gets Alice's public key. How does he get that? She gives it to him. She doesn't care who sees it, because nobody can decrypt a private message with just the public key. She keeps her private key private. Didn't realize that actually was type sensitive. She keeps her private key private, and that way she could put that in the phone book. She could send that over the internet, by email, whatever the public key. She doesn't care who sees it. Bob uses her public key, has a message, encrypts it. Alice receives a encrypted message, but she can use her private key to decrypt that and see the message. When you type your credit card number in on the Amazon website, what's happening, as long as it's an HTTPS website, as long as it's a secure website, what's happening is Amazon sends to your browser their public key. Your browser, when you type in your credit card number, encrypts that using this algorithm to convert it so that Amazon is the only one that can decrypt it using their private key that's stored just on their computers. You never send the private key across the internet. So nobody can see your credit card number, nobody can decrypt it except the person who sent you that public key. And they can decrypt it with the private key. A lot of you probably haven't thought about how that is kept encrypted. But the use of public key encryption allows us to do a lot of stuff, allows us to keep things private or to send encrypted messages that other people can't decrypt. And we don't have the computing power, although lots of people are trying to figure out ways to break those, to do that. The main thing is, here in this case, Alice has to keep her private key private. If she lets that out, then people can decrypt her messages. The next step is a little bit hard to understand, because we can use public key encryption to send an encrypted message. We can do the reverse operation to demonstrate who sent the message in the first place. We can verify who sent the message in the first place. And that's called a digital signature. If Alice is sending a message to Bob, and she isn't encrypting the message, she just wants Bob to be able to verify that she was the one that sent it. She sends the text, "Hello, Bob," but she signs it by decrypting "Hello, Bob," which gives you a message that Bob can verify using Alice's public key. Because what she did is she decrypted this message to get there, so we can verify that by taking this message and see that if we encrypt this, we get the original message. So we're doing the reverse operation. If you don't completely follow that, that's okay. Take my word for it that using public key encryption like this, we can put our signature on it. And what the signature shows is only Alice could have written that message and applied that signature to it. It also verifies that that message didn't get changed in the transmission, because otherwise it won't decrypt, it won't encrypt into the right message. Right? So we use this for signing documents. Some of you have gotten documents, legal documents, documents from work, where you have to sign them, and sometimes you have a PDF file that you attach an electronic signature, and these work different ways, but at least some of them use this public key encryption, have you create a password where it stores your private key, and that way they know that only the person that had that password could have signed that document. So digital signatures become an important part of the blockchain. We get into the blockchain and cryptocurrency because of an idea called decentralized finance. Decentralized finance, DeFi for short. And the thought here is, currently, if I send money to you, we today typically do that by, I go to my bank and I go to Zelle and I put in your email address and I send it electronically that way. But there has to be a third party, a bank involved, that carries out that transaction. Right? There has to be some centralized third party, like a bank. Decentralized finance, the thought is, what if two people could carry out a financial transaction and have it be verifiable without having to have a central authority, a third party to verify it? And the idea is that can be done if we distribute it among many computers and we use techniques like digital signatures to be able to verify it. So, the first question is, who is Satoshi Nakamoto? And the answer is, I don't know. And neither do you. Satoshi Nakamoto, in 2008, wrote a paper, I have it right here, called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And he, maybe it was a he, a lot of people think maybe it was a group of people. No one has yet admitted to being Satoshi Nakamoto. You have. You're going to admit to being that. He's pointing out that one of the people that is commonly thought of has already passed away. But we don't know for sure who that is. But he published this paper. It was only 9 pages. It's actually not too difficult to read. There's a link to it on the handout that I gave you. If any of you didn't pick up the paper with how to learn more about this, there's some more on the stand up over here. You're welcome to get on your way out. You really ought to read that paper. It's quite interesting. You don't have to understand all of it, but it's worth reading to understand where this came from in 2008. And he wasn't the first one to come up with the idea of decentralized finance, but he proposed a way that it could be distributed among many computers so people wouldn't be able to commit fraud, wouldn't be able to change what the transaction was, and you could verify using public key encryption who did what transaction without having to have banks, credit card companies, other central parties involved. That paper then turned into Bitcoin. Some of the features of Bitcoin is that there are only so many Bitcoins in the world. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin in the world. And that is one thing that will be used to keep its value. There currently don't exist 21 million yet because Bitcoins keep being created through mining, but it's being done in a way so that there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. The paper that he proposed makes mining of Bitcoin, which is the process of verifying the pages, intentionally computationally difficult to make it hard for somebody to commit fraud, to modify what had been done, to break into the system. It's intentionally made difficult. In January 3rd of 2009, the very first Bitcoin transaction happened. And by Satoshi, he created the Genesis block, the first Bitcoin block in the blockchain. And there was a reference on it to the headline on the front page of the Times of London. Some people think maybe he was British. We don't know. But on the Times of London that day, it said the Chancellor on brink of second bailout from banks. Did he do that just so that he could show what the date was when he created that block? Or was he also making a commentary on the problems we have in the modern banking system? Probably yes. Probably both. Right? Probably making a commentary on that. So the way Bitcoin works is that a number of Bitcoin transactions are collected together and put in a single block. And the blocks are chained together. Up front here, in addition to showing the current price, you may have noticed that every once in a while, this all shifts over and a new block in the Bitcoin blockchain gets added. Right now, we are on block 759,586. That's all the blocks in the Bitcoin blockchain. Every single transaction that has happened with Bitcoin is on one of those blocks. Now, many transactions can be grouped together in each block. Between 500 and 1,000 transactions, typically. And each block takes about 10 minutes to verify. And they keep adjusting every 2 weeks. The formula for what it takes to verify a block in the blockchain changes so that it continues to take about 10 minutes. So if people are able to verify the blocks faster, the algorithm automatically makes it harder and makes it take longer so that every block takes about 10 minutes to verify. So in the time I've just started talking about that, we have not yet added another block to the blockchain. Later we can look at that and I can tap on this block here and I can see when it was added to the chain, and I can see where that one was, and we'll see that they average out to about 10 minutes. Okay, average about 10 minutes each block on the blockchain. So what you can see here is we have a block header for each block. There's certain pieces of information, and then there's a number of transactions that go on in that block. Each block header has a version number, the blockchain version number. It has the hash of the previous header's block. So we take the information in the block and we compute a hash function, and we then have that hash function, that hash value, which helps us identify the previous block. This is the way we chain them all together. The Merkle root is the transactions are combined in a tree structure, are added to the block in a tree structure, and the Merkle root is just a hash value, a hash code that's done in such a way that you can efficiently find a particular transaction on that block. And we use what's called a Merkle tree to do that, which puts hash codes in each of the positions in the Merkle tree and cascades them up the tree. It also has the timestamp of each block when each block is created using Unix epoch time. Good computer scientists know that Unix epoch time started on January 1st, 1970. Nothing of interest in the world of computers ever happened before January 1st, 1970. That's not really true. But in the world of Unix, that is true, in the Unix operating system. And that's the time, so this indicates the number of seconds since January 1st, 1970. We store that in the time. Then for Bitcoin, in the blocks in the blockchain, there is a value called n bits. And that sets the difficulty level of a puzzle that has to be solved in order for a Bitcoin miner. You've heard about people mining Bitcoin. In order for a Bitcoin miner to get the rights to validate a particular block in the chain. We make them do some work first to qualify in order to add it. And the NOT stands for number used once, and it is just the answer to the puzzle to show that they solved the puzzle. It gets a little bit complicated, but basically the way it works is we have to find some number, which is what we're going to store in NOTs, that when added to the text of the header of the blockchain, we get a hash value that ends up being lower than the value that was stored in n bits. And there's no easy way to do that. You just have to keep trying one number after another because you can't predict what the hash value is going to be based on the text until you actually do the whole computation. So that is what makes it computationally difficult. They have to spend lots and lots of computer time. Yes, sir?
So what you're saying is that the problem that the miners have to solve is just really large factoring problems?
Actually, what they do is they keep recomputing a hash code over and over again, trying different nonce values until they get a hash code that's small enough. All right? So we have to keep rehashing over and over and over again, which is why when we're evaluating computer systems that do Bitcoin, we care about the hash rate. How quickly you can compute the hash code on this, which is actually a multi-step process. In order to make it so it's not easily reversible, it takes a while to compute hash. So people who are serious about trying to make money by mining Bitcoin have created special hardware just designed to compute the hash code with the SHA-256. They design their own computer chips used to mine Bitcoin. Anybody remember where, up until a couple of years ago, where the most Bitcoin miners operated out of? I heard somebody say, China. Why did they do it in China? Because the Chinese government subsidized electricity in China. People didn't have to pay much money to get electricity off of the national grid in China because it was all subsidized by the government. And so you could get more electricity cheaper in China than in anywhere else on Earth. Today, very little mining of Bitcoin is done in China because the Chinese government shut it all down. Yeah?
In the U.S., the biggest area where Bitcoin is mined is the area in regions which get their energy from the Hoover Dam.
Okay, right, and yeah, we're jumping ahead a little bit. So, Chinese government shut it all down. Why did China shut it all down? They didn't like the idea of Bitcoin because if people started doing transactions with Bitcoin, Chinese government lost control over the financial system, what was going on there. So not only did they not want people buying and selling with Bitcoin, they didn't want anybody creating more Bitcoin. They didn't want anybody getting Bitcoin, and they shut it all down. Since then, one of the most popular places to mine Bitcoin is in West Texas. They generate electricity from the wind, and they use that electricity in their own places with their own generators, and don't have to pay a central grid, and they do that. Jonathan just mentioned another place is off of the Hoover Dam, off of the hydroelectric power from that. People are mining Bitcoin. So each of these things goes in this header, and all of these blocks are linked together. And these blocks are public. Anybody can go and look at any of the blocks. Yes?
So the quick question I have is, since last year, Bitcoin was 66,000, now they're only 19,000.
Right.
Is it a possibility they go back up, or what if they go down more than what it's been down?
Both could happen, right? Either the value of Bitcoin is going to go down or it's going to go up. How's that for a statement? You can't argue with that one, can you? You can't argue with that. Right, we don't know what's going to happen with that. If people decide that they want to start doing transactions in Bitcoin rather than through their bank, through their credit cards, more people will want Bitcoin, and the more people that want Bitcoin, the more the price is going to go up. It's a pure supply and demand. A lot of things in our economy are supply and demand, but they're not necessarily pure because we have insurance companies and the government and taxes and all kinds of things that prevent our system from being a pure supply and demand situation. But Bitcoin is. People only want to buy Bitcoin if they can use it to buy other things. We'll get a little bit more into how in the world did it get up to $66,000 per coin. You have to stay to the end of the presentation before I give that answer.
All the state.
Right? So we have this information in the header, and we have all these transactions, and this whole block is visible to anybody in the world. You notice that since I was talking, we've added one more block. Since I pointed that out about 10 minutes ago, we've added another block. And I did that accidentally, but this is a good thing to show. This is all the information that is stored, all of that is stored on that latest block that was added to the blockchain, and that is public information. The person it came from and the person it goes to is indicated by the digital signature using their private key. And so only that person can prove that they're the ones that did that transaction, and it's sent to another person. And so on this one, we can see that this block had 1,956 transactions on it. And all those transactions were bundled together in a particular block and then put on the blockchain. And only the person who solved that puzzle was then able to validate that block and add it to the blockchain. And then once that's there, it's there forever. The way, and it's out there on computers. Anybody can make a copy of it and store it on their computer. And anybody can set up their computer and keep getting the updates of the latest blocks on the blockchain. This makes it so that somebody can't just go into a single bank and break into their computer and change all the records. Because you'd have to do it on every computer that is involved with Bitcoin all around the world. This is called distributed. It's a distributed system and it's verifiable. So the first miner that solves the problem gets to validate the new block, and they get Bitcoin for doing that. Currently, if you add a block to the blockchain, you get 6.25 Bitcoin for doing that. That's your reward. The reward for mining a block decreases by 1/2 every 4 years. So the very first block, the very first Bitcoin validators got 50 Bitcoin per block. 4 years later, they only got 25. 4 years after that, they got 12.5. And today, everybody gets 6.25. The next time it'll drop to, 3.125 is what you're going to get. So the incentive for mining Bitcoin is going down in that sense, isn't it? But that was kind of chosen because, at least historically, every 4 years, computing power more than doubles. At least it has been for the last 60, 70 years. And the idea was, by decreasing the reward, right, it's over time, people are still willing to do it because we have better and better computing power every year. In addition, by having the reward cut in half every 4 years, eventually we know what the maximum is. It's set so that there'll never be more than 21 million because we keep cutting the reward for it in half every 4 years. So this brings us to one of the controversies of Bitcoin. Energy consumption. You may have heard Elon Musk was a big backer of cryptocurrency, and he would sell you a Tesla for your Bitcoin or your Ether. And then he stopped taking Bitcoin because he said it took too much energy, it was bad for the environment. And Bitcoin transactions and mining currently consume 89 trillion watt hours per year. 89 trillion. More than the energy used by the country of Argentina in a year. That's how much energy we're using for mining Bitcoin. But on the other hand, this is how much we're using for mining Bitcoin. This is how much energy we're using to play video games. Right? This is how much energy we're using to mine gold. And this is how much energy the modern worldwide banking system consumes. So are we really using too much energy for mining Bitcoin? We're using a lot. But when you compare it to other things, not so much. So how can we really compare Bitcoin and classic banking? Well, it's hard, right? It's hard to do an apples to apples comparison. But there is a study, I put a link to it on your handouts. There is a study that says that the current banking system consumes 5.7 times as much energy than doing the same things in a Bitcoin system. Doing the same thing with Bitcoin, it takes, think about all the computer systems, think about all the lights that we have turned on in the banks and in the office buildings, and the gas people use to drive to work in the banking industry. There's a whole lot of energy being consumed just to run the current modern worldwide banking system. A lot of that stuff isn't necessary with a cryptocurrency system. So we actually could save money by having people transition to cryptocurrency. Now I want to just talk a little bit about some of the other kinds of cryptocurrencies. Ethereum, just this past September 15th, had a system similar to Bitcoin. It didn't require nearly as much energy as Bitcoin does. They had a similar system which is called the proof of work. That's where you have to solve the puzzle in order to validate a block. And Ethereum, the Ether is their coin, transitioned from proof of work to proof of stake on September 15th, 2022. Just last month, that happened. The new proof of stake mechanism requires less than 1% of the energy that the previous system used. Basically, proof of work is done by letting the people who have the most invested in Ether do the validation. It's not quite that simple, but it basically is you let the people who have the most invested in it take care of the validation of it instead of forcing them to solve a complex puzzle. There's some people who say that that really makes it, by having the stakeholders involved in doing the validation, they have a stake in making sure that the system stays correct, that the system is done correctly. And so that is an alternative to the proof of work system where you have to do it. There's no plan at the moment for Bitcoin to change. Bitcoin is probably going to keep using the same system that they've got that has worked well for them. But be aware that other cryptocurrencies use different systems. Another real interesting thing about Ethereum is you can write computer programs right into the blocks on the Ethereum blockchain. Not only can you put in transactions, you can write computer programs in them. And what that does is enable smart contracts. A smart contract is a contract that will just execute automatically when certain events happen. If the price of Ether goes below a certain amount, it'll just start buying Ether. If price of a certain stock on closing day happens at this point, it will set the price for the transaction, for the merger of two companies. And all that can be programmed and written into the Ethereum blockchain. And just like with the Bitcoin blockchain, it has all the verification and it is distributed so that nobody can challenge those transactions. The other thing that in Ethereum is used for is NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible tokens, you've heard of NFTs, I hope many of you have heard of NFTs, are electronic assets. Can be any kind of asset that you can represent electronically. And the ownership of it is recorded in the Ethereum blockchain, mostly the Ethereum, some others. In the Ethereum blockchain, it certifies ownership and authenticity. That block is broadcast to the whole world. Everybody can see, and you can use your digital signature to sign it so that it's clear who owns that electronic asset. Currently, the most money ever paid for a single NFT is $91.8 million for this. You're all looking at me like, who in the world would pay that amount of money for that? I'm with you, right? None of my money went to buying that. This is done by Pac, who is the most popular digital artist. His art is actually a combination of digital art and computer programming. So this moves, and the size of the planet here gets bigger as more money is invested in it. And so this is more than just this image. It's an interesting piece of art. But people paid that amount. It was actually a big group of people, a consortium of people that decided to buy that piece of art. And they bought it because they hoped that they can sometime sell it for more. Right? So a lot of the NFTs people are buying they're just buying them in hopes that eventually someday they'll be able to sell them and make more. Other cyber coins out there that you've seen are Dogecoin, which started as a joke, became very popular on Reddit. There's one called Ripple. Ripple has been targeted by the SEC a lot. There's been involved in a lot of controversy. It's won several court battles, including one just recently, and the price of that has gone up as a result. That's become quite popular. Litecoin is an alternative to Bitcoin. There's a Binance coin that is compatible with Ethereum. Solana is also popular with smart contracts, and Cardano, which is an Ethereum alternative. Those are just some of the more popular Bitcoins, or more popular cyber coins out there right now. Yes, sir?
Have you heard of Monero?
Go ahead, tell us about it.
It's a privacy coin, and the IRS currently has $1 million bounty on for whoever can crack it.
Okay, the IRS wants to be able to crack it.
That's the one that's designed to be more resistant to external factors
Yeah.
because what's it called? Figured out how to reverse Bitcoin using information exchanges.
Okay, go ahead. question?
Oh, could you go back to the previous slide?
Sure can.
What is Binance Coin and Tarrant Coins?
Oh, but one of the ways Binance keeps their coin valuable is they keep removing coins from the system. That's what burning the coins refers to. That's a way to prop up the value of the coin, right? How do you trade crypto? There's two main ways. You have a crypto wallet where you store your private key that you use to gain access to your coins on the blockchain. And there's software you can have and you can manage your crypto wallet all by yourself. But there are also crypto exchanges. Those are like stock brokerages where you hire them, you create an account with them, and they'll hold the coins for you and they'll do the transactions for you.
More recently, people like decentralized exchanges after Coinbase became the largest, and there was a big concern because they were all the either though the stake was storing there, they were using it, they were just taking all of it, and then every time there was a fork and
Right, and so crypto exchanges start to have the same kind of problems that regular banking accounts have because there is a centralized authority for that. Okay, so what happened? Where'd the money go? Cryptocurrencies are decentralized, they're limited, they're liquid, they should have managed to hold value. What happened? The novelty led to heavy speculation. Because people saw the value of Bitcoin going up, they figured the value of Bitcoin would keep going up, and they kept paying more and more money, even though they couldn't actually do anything with it, right? The novelty led to heavy speculation. Investors expected crypto to be a hedge against inflation, to trade independent of the stock market, but what has really happened is that crypto has had high volatility and it has followed the stock market down. In the same time period that cryptocurrencies have gone down, the overall stock market has also gone down. But cryptocurrencies tend to be even more volatile. So as the stock market goes up and down like this, cryptocurrencies have tended to have even bigger waves. So where did the money go? Well, a lot of it wasn't really there to begin with. It was just hype and pushed up high. The value kept being pushed up until people finally realized that it wasn't really worth what other people were willing to pay for it, and the price came down. Also because a lot of the same people were investing in the stock market, were buying cryptocurrency. When the stock market went down, they needed money, so they sold their Bitcoin. They sold their Bitcoin, they sold their other cryptocurrency. Some of the controversies with cryptocurrency are that it's not regulated. The anonymity is well suited for criminal activity. On the other hand, criminals haven't had a whole lot of problem being able to finance their businesses as it is, right? And the security of cryptocurrency is in the hand of software developers. People like me. Are you willing to trust that? Trust your money to software developers? Or might you want to become one of them yourself? There are going to be a lot of jobs in the future for people who know how to program on the blockchain. Right? Should you invest in cryptocurrency right now?
Yes.
Probably not. Right? However, the reason I started doing it is because that's how I wanted to learn more about it. I thought it was important enough. As a teacher, I needed to be able to explain to students what's going on with it. For you folks, I'm convinced it's going to be very important for you to at least understand what is going on with cryptocurrency. Thank you very much. I appreciate the questions. I will stick around in the back, but we'll turn it over to Archie now to close us out. Thank you very much.
Let's give Professor Kester a... Now I know where 2 $2 trillion again. It was never there in the first place. Am I right? It was never really there in the first place. Okay, wonderful. Was that engaging, interesting?
Sir.
Wonderful.